Evening. This is Larry Reisman with TCPalm. I'm here with Gil Smart in the middle there, and Adam. Gil's a columnist, and Larry's a columnist, and Adam is our editor. He'll also be doing the direction today. We're here for hopefully what could be an exciting evening of primary election 2020, and we'll be joined by reporters in the field, and we'll have candidates as well as election returns. So we welcome you tonight. And we'll start it off. Adam's got a few tips to start with about how to watch the elections on TCPalm.
Yeah, thanks, Larry. I mean, building up to today, it's always kind of big for newsrooms. We always look at it as kind of our Super Bowl, right? We prepare for several weeks, several months, and then we're finally here. So, most people have voted about a half hour before the polls close. If you're waiting and looking for more information, we have it all on tcpalm.com/elections. We have a lot of enterprise stories, some analysis, kind of breakdowns of some of the elections that are happening. But then starting at 7 o'clock, really, again, in less than a half hour now, we have everybody on and going to be reporting all the live results as soon as they happen. We have stories ready to go when people do, when we do have winners. And then when that happens, we also are going to be working all through the night and into tomorrow on more of the analysis, more of the breakdowns of some of these races, especially some of the key ones. So I would strongly recommend everybody stay on TCPalm, not only through when we hear a winner, but then look tonight and then into tomorrow, kind of, again, looking at the analysis and even looking ahead to November, because with a lot of these races, that's really going to set up some interesting races in November.
And Gil, how are things looking right off the bat down in Martin County?
Pretty good and pretty interesting. We were looking at a graphic earlier here showing how many people voted by mail today in Martin County. If Adam could maybe bring that up, I'm not sure, but something like 2/3 of all voters so far voted by mail, and it's just nuts. I mean, I voted. I went this morning down to Langford Park to vote. There were no lines. I talked to a gentleman, a poll worker there, who said it had been steady. But again, there have been a little over, I believe, 11,000 votes cast in person today in Martin County, but over 24,000 votes cast by mail. And as I understand it, Larry, that's pretty similar to what's going on up in Indian River County.
Yeah, I've got those numbers there, as a matter of fact. It looks like by mail, there were 24,500 almost, and then early voting, another almost 6,000, and then election day, a little over 9,500. So not as busy today, at least so far, with only a half hour to go here. So, the mail was huge this year, obviously, triggered by the coronavirus and just, the convenience of it. You said you voted or you went down in person, but, I voted by mail. Actually, I didn't really vote by mail. I got it. I got my ballot in the mail, and I took it down to the supervisor of elections office on a Sunday and dropped it in the box. I went back and I checked on, I think it was Tuesday, and they had marked off that they'd gotten my, my ballot and everything. So, pretty convenient way to vote.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. There have been some reports of some confusion at polling places in Martin County today. I encountered that as well. Normally, my precinct is right up the road, the Catholic Church off Savannah Road. Went there today to vote. It was closed, and there was a sign that you had to find your new precinct, but it didn't say where. Quick looked it up online. It was down Langford Park. We've heard several reports from our folks out in the field who've been talking to voters who say that happened to them today. We're not sure exactly what's going on. I believe we're going to try to track down something on that so we can sort of clear up a little bit of that confusion if people do have that. St. Lucie County Supervisor of Elections website is not listing the number of people who have voted by mail versus those who have voted in person. But we have to just guess. I mean, if it's going on to that extent in Indian River, Martin County, I'm certain that, it's likely that a large majority of folks in St. Lucie County have voted by mail so far as well. So we got a lot of interesting races here. We've got a lot of folks coming on the show here. So we're going to be going for as long as this ride takes us. And we've got a whole bunch of candidates who are scheduled to come join us here and talk a little bit about the election and talk a little bit about their campaigns. We will know, I guess, in a lot of the cases by the time these folks get on, whether they have won or whether they have lost. So maybe they'll be able to do some reflection on some of that for us.
Yeah, we're having to juggle a little bit. We have a schedule for some of the candidates that are coming in. Stephen Boyle was supposed to come in at 6:50, and he had to back out. We had Ed Killer was scheduled to come on at 6:40. Seems like I'm not sure he's going to be able to get through from the Martin County Elections Office. Joe Neeson is scheduled at 7, so it should, we got Laura Moss in an interesting race in Indian River County. She's a Severo Beach City Council person. She's running against Bob Arwater, a Indian River Shores Council person, and then Steve Boyle, a first-time candidate who's in Indian River County. That's one of the county commission races. The other one is also hotly contested, where we have Tim Zork, a two-time incumbent, running against Joe Ehrman, whom he ran against 4 years ago in a four-way race, and Zork won that four-way race, not quite getting a majority of the votes, but he did win. This year he sits head-to-head with Ehrman, who's the former fire captain in Indian River County. So those are some of the two big county commission races in Indian River County.
Later on in the broadcast, we have a couple of folks from contested races. At 8:30, we're scheduled to talk to Jenny Fields, who's running for property appraiser in Martin County against Kelly Glass Layton. That may be one of the nastiest races on the Treasure Coast. There's been a lot of sniping back and forth between the partisans in that race. It's going to be interesting to see how that shakes out. And then at 8:40, we're scheduled to talk to Merritt Matheson, the City of Stewart's commissioner incumbent, who's running for re-election, but facing a pretty stiff challenge from an attorney named Ed Galante. So we'll see how that shakes out. We may have results for that at that time. We're going to be talking to some other folks as well. Again, up at 7 o'clock, Joe Neeson, who's facing longtime incumbent Doug Smith on the Martin County Board of County Commissioners. She's the underdog for sure, but she's run a pretty spirited campaign, so we'll see what she has to say about that. And then we have some other folks coming up as well. And we're going to be talking to, again, some of our reporters who are at the polls, or rather who are at the election headquarters, who are going to fill us in a little bit on what's been going on, some sort of behind the scenes info as officials gather the vote counts. Martin County tends to make its results known very quickly. So we can expect, I think, Martin County to be, the first or second out of the gate with its info. St. Lucie County may take a little bit longer. Larry, I'm not sure how long Indian River typically takes. But we're not going to have to wait too much longer after the polls close before we start seeing the first results.
Indian River, I think the last couple of elections has been one of the latest ones to have the returns. St. Lucie, has been pretty early the last few years from my recollection, but years ago they would be very, very late. But they've got a new system. It seems, I think they have the first website up with actual, what looks to be the race website up that has the list. I might be able to share that screen to show you what that looks like. But let's see if I can share that screen and show you. But they seem to be, they have the first one up with some of the results, and they can talk about the number of voters. But they have 0 of 64 races in there. Let's see if I can share my screen and show that. It's not a lot of information up there, but it might be worth sharing. And we'll go for that. This is the beauty of live election television, right? Or live election. So I can't seem to find it right now, but maybe this is it. Let's see. Is that it?
Yep, you got it.
Okay, so that's what, St. Lucie County is up, and you can look at some of their results there. Committeeman. They got it. Obviously, the Republican primary for Congress, Brian Mast being challenged. What do you think about that race, Gil?
It's interesting. I would really be surprised if Mast were unseated, but he was primaried. That's the term, right? You get primaried. And I know that his challenger very, very strong on Second Amendment issues. In fact, I think that was one of the reasons they ran. So I would expect Mast to win fairly handily. Of course, then, we're also waiting to see who he will wind up facing, I guess, in November. If he does win, we have a race in the Democratic primary as well. It's Oz Vasquez versus Pam Keith. So, keep an eye on that as well.
Yeah, so then we've got, that's the other one, of course, you've got District 25, you've got House District 55 there, and then House District 84 has actually got an interesting race. I think Dana Trabulsi is pretty sure she's won that race, but she'll face Dolores Hogan Johnson in the I believe she'll face Dolores Hogan Johnson in November. Sheriff, you've got a couple of candidates here seeking to run against Ken Mascara, and then you've got the supervisor of elections. That's a big race right there. I think Sharia Johnson ran 4 years ago. She's the risk manager at the city of Fort Pierce. A very good candidate. We endorsed her 4 years ago, or recommended her 4 years ago against Gertrude Walker, who had some real challenges in the office, and she's been in there for decades. But this year, Ms. Walker had done a good job over the past 4 years, so we recommended that she stay in office. She's got obviously a lot of experience. Then we've got, there's a District 1 primary going on, both for Republicans and Democrats. The incumbent is Chris Sadowski. We've got a District 5 primary. So there's a lot of action in St. Lucie County, a couple of school board races. The mayor's race, very heated race. Linda Hudson's the incumbent. Rick Reed is a very
mercurial. Let's use that term. He's a very mercurial personality. Yeah.
And very outspoken, I might add. So that should be interesting to see how he fares in that race against a host of other candidates. And then you've actually got a city council primary.
Right.
And both of those races likely will go to, because of the number of candidates, unless somebody gets 50%, that would go to a runoff in November.
Right.
We got a couple of school board races there. The circuit judge race, if you look at the traffic on our website, it seems like people are really interested in this circuit judge race. A lot of people come into our stories and our recommendation in that race. So there's a lot of interest in that. 4 years ago or 2 years ago, we did not write about, at least the editorial side, we did not recommend candidates or interview candidates in the judge race. This year we did, and there's a huge interest in it, perhaps because it's just so hard to find information about these folks, and judges have a tremendous amount of impact in our lives. So,
right.
We've got the Port St. Lucie. We've got the Port St. Lucie, race as well.
Right. For City Council, that's going to be to replace Councilman John Caravelli, who was not running for re-election. So you got a three-way race there: John Howell, Chancellor Howell, and David Pickett. I want to briefly revisit what we were saying about Fort Pierce. It's very interesting in Fort Pierce. Again, the mayoral contest, there are 6 candidates. You'd have to think incumbent Linda Hudson would be the favorite. But again, when you have that many people running for that office, it suggests, I don't know, maybe the winds of political change are blowing in Fort Pierce. Fort Pierce District 1 commission seat, Reggie Sessions is the incumbent. He's facing 3 challengers. So there are a lot of folks looking to get involved in Fort Pierce politics who maybe see things wrong in the community, issues they want to address, or maybe just think they can do a better job than the current leadership there. It's going to be very interesting to see how all that shakes out tonight.
Sounds good. And we've got Ed Killer is on the line, one of our reporters. I believe he's at the Martin County Supervisor of Elections office. Hey, Ed.
That's correct, Larry.
How are things going over there? Pretty quiet, or
yeah, super smooth. They just the poll workers just took the officials here that are counting the ballots. They just took a 10-minute dinner break, and then they'll be coming back to work here in a few minutes. They were verifying some of the ballots that had like smudges on them and stuff like that. They were going through those and also doing like some random checks, make sure everything was lined up the way it was supposed to. I've got a really bad thunderstorm coming through right now, and we did have a lightning strike that caused the power to flicker. And I asked them, do you got a backup plan in case power goes out here? And so they do. They've got a generator and everything should be okay. And the machines aren't going to erase or anything like that. So we got one eye on the weather here while they're getting ready to tally the votes. One thing that's interesting though, I found is, even as recently as when I was coming on live with you guys, a person walked in to drop off a mail-in ballot. And we've been seeing that for the last hour. as well as there's two people who came in about 20 minutes ago that were asking to vote in person here, which that isn't the case on election day. They have to go to their polling location. So the polite election workers were helping them to find their correct polling location and sent them on their way to go out there and find the right place to vote. So that was kind of interesting. I was a little surprised at that. So
that is interesting.
Other than that, things are smooth.
All right. Any confusion? Have you heard about any confusion about polling places or anything like that? Things to be pretty.
There's two things that popped up that in the like probably about 4:30, 5 o'clock. There were two things that popped up. Both things are things I found on Facebook. One was that the Nick Vescio campaign for Congress against Brian Mast was that he had taken down his website, he had taken down his Facebook page and social media. Josh Solomon was trying to verify that. He called the campaign, didn't get a response from them, didn't get a text back from them. He also called the Mast campaign to see if they knew anything about Vescio suspending his campaign here on election day, but there was no word yet. So that's kind of like up in the air. We're going to find out more about that probably tomorrow or next day. Also, there was a voter in Hope Sound who claimed on Facebook she went to her polling location and tried to vote in person, and they told her that she couldn't because her mail-in ballot had already been registered. So there's some confusion there as to what happened there. She was frustrated. She already called the supervisor of elections in Martin County, Vicki Davis, and asked her to look into it. They said they're too busy to look into it this time, but there's something hanging there in the air on that. So we're going to have to find out more about that in the next coming days too.
Good job out there, Ed. That's some interesting stuff. And, and hopefully you'll get back to us if there are other things throughout the night that happen. Any other questions for Ed?
Just to mention, Ed, batten down the hatches. I just heard we're under a severe thunderstorm warning until 7:30. So tell me.
And funny, you know what else, Gil? While we were on this call, I got a call from Jensen Beach High School, so I can only wonder what that call is about.
I think we might know what that call's about.
Oh, you know. I mean, everything's just all crashing here at once. That's how it goes.
That's it. Unfortunately. All right. Thank you, Ed Killer. If there's anything else comes up, hopefully we'll talk to you again later tonight.
Yeah, that's been, I mean, you talk about Jensen Beach High School. I don't know if you want to get off topic here for a minute, Gil, but, the school has been, Martin County was the first school district to start here, and there are some interesting developments over the first couple of days.
Yeah, they've got hundreds of students quarantined already. There have been several classrooms sent home for distance learning for 14 days because of potential exposure to the virus. This is an issue. There are no races in this primary of the Martin County School Board, but this is an issue that every incoming school board in every school district is going to have to deal with, because this is going to be an issue going forward. By the time some of these folks wind up taking office early next year, these districts that have started, the school year in person on campus, who knows what that's going to look like by the time that, some of these folks get into office, and then have to make policy on the basis of how we're going to go forward dealing with this. So, this is a huge issue, obviously for the community, but for school districts, really, I mean, it's just really, really tough. And Martin's experience this past week has just unfortunately not been good. Yeah,
it'll be very interesting. I don't know if you heard, but the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill moved all of its classes online after 130 more students were infected with COVID-19. There were something like 50 of them traced to an off-campus party. So they've moved it on. There's an editorial that I was reading from the Tar Heel, the Daily Tar Heel, at the school newspaper there. And, they predicted, they saw it all coming. There's a noun that they use that I probably shouldn't repeat on air, even though this is just the internet. But the definition is a complex and utterly disordered and managed situation. You might be able to figure out what that is. But so it's COVID-19 clusters already were surfacing around campus just within a week into campus at a couple of dormitories and a fraternity house of all places.
Yeah,
Cluster, by the way, go ahead, Dick. Go ahead, Gil.
Well, I just say it's important to note in Martin County that all the kids who've been sent home, and in some cases teachers have been sent home too, they've been sent home because they were potentially exposed to a student or staff member who him or herself might have been exposed. The terminology is they are presumed positive. That does not mean that they have, in fact, tested positive. Now, our education reporter, Summer Bruegel, reported yesterday that there has, in fact, been one positive coronavirus test come back from someone in the district. We're not sure if it's a teacher, if it's a student, or whatever it is. But everyone who comes into contact with someone who has been diagnosed with the virus is presumed positive, and when that happens, that person is going to send all the people in their class home for 14 days. If there's at 1 to 2 people in that class who are presumed positive, the class goes home. If there's more, then multiple classes could go home. If there's enough, the entire school could go home. So there's an entire laundry list of how the school district approaches this. All eyes are on the school district. I mean, they are one of the first in Florida to open. Everybody's paying attention. I hope to have a column this weekend talking to the superintendents in both the St. Lucie and Indian River County school districts, asking them if they've been watching the situation, what they can learn from Martin County's experience. So parents might want to look out for that.
Thanks, Gil. And one of the reasons we got on that topic is we were talking about the school board races. There was a primary in St. Lucie County. In Indian River County, there's a couple of, I think, big races, 2 races that will be determined tonight. You've got Brian Barefoot, a former university president up at Babson College, running against Alla Kramer, a teacher and business owner. And then you've got another great race, the incumbent Laura Zork, who's been the school board chairman for 2 years. She's running against Peggy Jones, who has been, a teacher, a principal, athletic director, a school district administrator, and a FH, Florida High School Athletic Association administrator as well. So that could be a good race as well. One of the interesting things, I was looking at the Indian River County turnout. It's already at 33.43%. So 33.43%. We're probably just about where we're going to get. It might go up a little higher. But 4 years ago, if you think it was different, it really wasn't. It was only 31%. So we may see more votes come in, but it seems to be relatively consistent with 4 years ago. No big strategy there or different changes there.
Well, and that was one of the big questions too. How is COVID-19 going to affect the ballot? As we mentioned earlier, we are seeing a huge number of people voting by mail. So thankfully, anyway, it appears that the virus has not prevented people from voting, but it changed how they voted.
Yep. So we'll have more information on that as the evening progresses, as the results start to come in. We'll see who are there certain trends in that kind of voting and whatnot. But again, you can see there's the graphic up there. I think 4,000, just a staggering number of mail votes compared to early voting and election day. I think it used to be that mail and early voting was about half of the votes, but here they've been clearly way more than half. And will this surface in November kind of thing? There's all this discussion about mail ballots, the controversy over it. But Gil, as I was saying, I got my ballot in the mail, and probably within a couple of days of asking for it, and then I just drove it over to the supervisor of elections office. I didn't put it back in the mail. I'm sure there are readers, and you can comment in the Facebook chat area if you like. We'd love to hear your experience, whether you voted in person and what that was like, or voted by mail. It'd be interesting to see. Did you mail it in? Did you bring it in? That kind of thing. So.
Right, FYI, right now, voter turnout in Martin County is around 33%.
33. So that's pretty consistent with Indian River.
Yeah, we've got 38,072 people who have cast votes according to the website. We have a total registered voters 114,537.
Yeah, thanks for joining in, Curtis, who points out that 31% in Indian River County in 2016, but there are only 32,245 votes total. And this year we're up to 40,258. So a lot more ballots cast. Percentage is still about 33.4, but we've still got another 10 minutes. Well, this is as of 6:50, so we got another 10 minutes or so left. So we've got Joe Neeson is scheduled to join us soon. We'll see if she can make it into the studio.
Okay.
But she's running for District 1 in Martin County Commission against Smith, the longtime incumbent, who has been supported by the fire union there. And Josh Solomon had a big story on that the other day.
Yeah, the fire union, the PAC, spent about upwards of $50,000 to boost Smith's election this time around, which is kind of ridiculous if you think about it, because Smith, longtime incumbent, Joe Neeson, has a good grasp of policy, but it wasn't a big time campaign. She raised and spent less than $10,000. And she was a big time underdog the whole way. I mean, Joe had said in her responses to our questionnaire that she was running because she couldn't get anyone else to do it. So we endorsed Smith on the basis of his experience, his knowledge, his ability to sort of move the needle on a lot of issues here on the Treasure Coast. But it's interesting that the firefighters felt it necessary, if that's the right word, to spend $50,000 to help elect an incumbent commissioner who was almost certainly going to be reelected anyway. As Josh reported, the firefighters are going to be seeking a new contract or new terms in their contract. And Smith may be friendly to their requests, particularly after they hooked them up to this extent during the campaign.
Yeah, and in Indian River County, we had a similar situation, although it was, I think, a little more obvious. Well, it was pretty obvious down there, I guess. But here, one of the candidates, as we've hit 7 o'clock on the official TCPalm clock, I think, here. But so the polls should be closed. But in Indian River County, one of the county commission races, we had Tim Zork was running. He's the incumbent, two-time incumbent. He took a beating from a Tallahassee political committee voters' response. Flyers, a text message, and a website. Who sent that out? These are somewhat anonymous type Tallahassee groups. This one was voters' response again. They beat him up over bankruptcy tax increases and spending more than other commissioners on training and tips.
Right.
Happened to be in a race with Joe Ehrman, who's a retired fire rescue captain. And it turns out that voters' response received almost $25,000 in donations the last 2 weeks in July from the Indian River Fire Political Action Committee. It funded with $75,000 since April from the Indian River County Firefighters Paramedics Association. So that, again, that kind of money got into the Indian River County race as well. I'm not aware of any in any kind of things like that in St. Lucie County.
Worth pointing out, it is 7:01 p.m., so the polls are closed. So that means voting is over for today, folks, and we wait for the results to start trickling in here. We wait to hear from some of the folks who are going to spend some time with us here, who have said they're going to come on our show and talk a little bit about their campaigns and maybe talk a little bit about the results. If we have them, we will. And when we have them, as soon as we get them, we'll let you know what they are. Again, as we noted earlier, Martin County tends to be really quick in returning its election results, but we're keeping our eye on all the websites for all three of the supervisor of elections in the Treasure Coast County. We'll have them for you as we find them out ourselves.
So we've got all those, we've got all three of them up, and we'll be able to track them for you. As you can see, one of our Facebook commenters, Emily, mailing ballots to the supervisor of elections office, and she said it was really fast and easy, which is super. We've got another person, Eileen, took her ballot into the 10th Street Rec Center, had a good experience there. So that's been good. People have voted in different ways. Again, if you're just joining us, the big way to vote this year was through mail. That was a pretty consistent, way to vote this year. Again, Indian River County, their election results are probably going to start to trickle in here. They don't have the link to the full page yet. They do have updated the total number of votes, 40,341 as of 7 o'clock, out of 120,420 voters, 30%. Again, 24,000, over 24,500. Some that came in kind of the last minute there. or in the last half hour, 24,500 of the 40,000 were by mail. So a clear majority there.
Yeah, we're seeing a very similar dynamic in Martin County here. Martin County, 64% of those who voted in this election cast their ballots by mail. Only about 29% of those who voted showed up at the polls today for Election Day. Again, when I was at the polls here this afternoon, poll workers told me it had been steady. It had not, and there were a couple of people there when we were there, probably mid-morning, about 10:30. So, you know, certainly the polls weren't overwhelmed. And again, that was the big question. How were people going to react to the COVID-19 scare? Would it keep them away from the polls? Again, to the extent that it did, they voted by mail, it looks like, because turnout overall seems to be very comparable to previous elections in recent years. So,
yeah. You know, and just, you know, it's interesting to sort of note some of the trends in voter registration in Indian River County. Still a Republican county, 56,600 Republicans to 33,408 Democrats. But, you know, the non-party affiliates, almost 30,000, 29,255, others 1,800. So it's still, you know, majority there, but it's getting closer when you look at the NPAs. NPA's growing, only trail the Democrats by about 4,000.
Yeah. I'm looking at those numbers in St. Lucie County. So there is a Democratic plurality in St. Lucie County. 85,357 registered Democrats in St. Lucie County. 71,367 Republicans, but NPAs, non-party affiliation, 56,433. I mean, that's a swing vote right there. That's a huge factor. That's a huge factor. And again, those numbers are growing. I think they are growing across the board. Those folks are going to be playing more and more of a role in a lot of these election outcomes we're going to see.
Definitely. So that it should be interesting as results should start trickling in any minute here, I would think. Just they usually post the the early voting and the absentee ballots. So those should come in soon. Probably a matter of minutes before we get those.
Right.
We get some of those. I keep refreshing some of these pages here.
Okay. All right, we're starting to see some results from St. Lucie County. Initial results are trickling in for St. Lucie County here. As of right now, this is what's being reported on the St. Lucie County Supervisor of Elections page. Right now, Felicia Bruce leads Shannon Marie Scott for the Democratic Committeewoman slot. U.S. Rep. Brian Mast with a healthy lead over challenger Nick Vesio. So far, Mast has 12,000 votes. Vesio has 1,800. Pam Keith so far. Again, it's very, very early. Pam Keith has a sizable lead over Oz Vasquez, the Democratic primary for U.S. Rep. District 18 rather. Keith with 79% of the vote to Oz Vasquez is 21% of the vote. Again, it's early. State Senator for Senatorial District 25, Corinna Balderramos Robinson is up 73 to 27 over Rinaldo Daniel Diaz. State Rep House 55, you got Ned Hancock 51%, Kaylee Tuck 49%. Again, we've only got a few hundred votes in there, so we got a while to go, but very, very close so far. State Rep House District 84, Republican Dana Trabulsi, I'm not saying that right, 74%. Eileen Vargas 25.5%. Sheriff, Republican primary for sheriff to face off against Sheriff Mascara in the fall. So far, Kevin Carter is up 65 to 35 over Rich Williams. Supervisor of election, not really a surprise so far here. Gertrude Walker, the incumbent, 77%. Sharita Johnson, 23%, with about 38,000 votes counted. County Commissioner District 1, Republicans. Ryan Edward Collins with 54%. That's better than both of his challengers there, Roland Dorsainaville and Betty Jo Stark, County Commission District 1. The Democrat, Chris Tadowski, the incumbent, is in for a little bit of a fight here. He's got 51.37%, but his challenger, Robin Dugbino, with 48.63%. That's very interesting. That's a race we got to watch. County Commissioner District 5, Democrat. It's close. Henry Dewhart, a young African-American young guy, 42.6% of the vote against 36.9% for Kurt Holden, 20.47% for Fritz Mason Alexander. Circuit Judge, we've been watching this one. We've been talking about how this generated quite a bit of interest. Victoria Griffin, the incumbent, with almost 70% of the vote to challenger Lou Larson's about 30%. School board, we got Jack Kelly with about 46%, James Mons with 40%, Lennox Wiley with about 14%. School board District 4, Catherine Helmsley and Jennifer Richardson, very close, 41%. Jason Palm lagging behind at 16%. Fort Pierce Mayor, we talked about this. This is the six-way race. Linda Hudson, the incumbent, is up pretty big, 47.18%. She's got no one else has more than 18 or almost 19%. Donna Benton has 18.18%. Well, the other challengers, 14%, 3%, 2%. Fort Pierce District 1, that's Reggie Sessions' seat. He's the incumbent. He's running again. He's got a lead, but not a huge one, 39.42%. 27% for challenger Curtis Johnson Jr., 21.53% for Kenny Robinson, 11.89% for Charles Bryant. And City Council, District 2, again, this is to replace sitting councilman John Caravelli, who's not running. Fairly close, David Pickett with 43%. Chancellor Howell and John Hall basically are neck and neck with a little over 28%. So again, these are the first results we're seeing from St. Lucie County. You've got a couple really, really close races that Chris Tadovsky, the Democratic incumbent commissioner, who's been there a while, he's been very active in lagoon issues, water issues, other issues as well. Right now, he's in a pretty tight race. So that's going to be one to watch.
Interesting. And Indian River County's results are coming in as well. We've got let's go up to the first one. We've got no precincts, of course, but there's a lot of votes that have been turned in already. So looks like 15,000 votes cast out of about 40 altogether. We've got representative in Congress. Really no surprise here, Bill Posey with the lead in that race. It's a multiple county race, but in Indian River, he's got a 63% lead. Sheriff's race, Eric Flowers with a commanding lead over Keith Touchberry. Chuck Kirby and Rich Roselle also in that race. Carol Jean Jordan, 69% in that, overwhelming at the beginning here. Wow, and Joe Ehrman looks to have a major upset, maybe not an upset, but a big victory over Tim Zork so far, an incumbent. Still probably about 14,000 votes to be possibly up to, well, maybe 10,000 votes or fewer to be cast in that, but it's a big lead at this point. Laura Moss, in the race for county commission in Indian River County District 5, over Bob Allwater and Steve Boyle. She's got 46% compared to 30 for Allwater and 22 for Boyle. And then the judge race, consistent with what we saw in St. Lucie, Victoria Griffin with a big lead there. Indian River County, Peggy Jones with a big lead so far over Laura Zork. Laura Zork, the incumbent. And Brian Barefoot, 64%, another big lead there. And then on the approval for the school board continued tax, overwhelming approval, 78% of Indian River County residents so far voting yes to approve the continuation of an extra tax or optional tax to fund the schools. Gil, any
No, I'm not saying we got John Santucci waiting in the wings here. Reporter John Santucci, who is in St. Lucie County, I believe. Let's bring him on. John, how are you? How are you?
How are you guys doing?
All right. We'll talk a little bit about what's going on in your neck of the woods at the Supervisor of Elections Office, St. Lucie County.
They're saying it's all going according to plan today. There haven't been any major things to report. The turnout obviously is lower in person than that was expected. So usually it's about a third by mail, a third early, and a third day of. And this year it's obviously been a lot more mail and quite a few number of in person. So they figure about 7:15 most of the ballots will arrive, and those will be the early ballots and so on, which is about 2 minutes. So anticipation there for those, and then we'll get those counted and see where we're at.
Any reports of any problems around the county at all today?
Not that I've heard, or at least not that they're telling me, but those two things might not be be the same. But
Yeah,
I'm not hearing any reports of anything going overly crazy.
Okay, good. Ed Killer was here. He was at the Martin County office, and we're getting some bad thunderstorms through here. Said not to worry, if the power goes out, they'll still be counting the votes. They got a generator. I assume they got a similar setup at St. Lucie.
Certainly, they're prepared for contingencies here.
All right, that sounds good.
I think the ballots have arrived because all of a sudden the machines behind me started whirring quite significantly within the last 30 seconds. So
all right.
Or there's a really weird party going on behind me. I'm not sure, but I'm guessing it's
all right. We'll put on your mask. We'll let you go join it. That's all. Yeah.
Hey, Gil, while we have John on, we were talking earlier about some of the issues in Martin County schools since they were the first one to start up. What can you tell us about, John is the prep reporter on the Treasure Coast, the ACE expert prep reporter. What can you tell us about fall sports in high schools locally?
We, the FHSAA approved on last Friday that they would start on Monday, the 24th, which is about 5 or 6 days away. So that's the plan right now, is that all schools on the Treasure Coast plan to begin fall sports practice on the 24th. Football games starting September 10th and 11th. The state is allowing games as soon as September 4, which would be only about 3 days of padded practice. So the guys here, I think, wisely decided that's too soon. They haven't really played football in almost a year. So, more than 3 days is wise, especially for offensive linemen. But we expect to have games here in a couple weeks.
How are the athletes and the coaches feeling about this? Everybody excited? Everybody a little nervous? I mean, it's kind of uncharted territory here.
I think, Gil, the answer is yes. I think there's a lot of excitement. These kids work all year to get ready for a 10-game season, or this year a 7-game season. There's excitement over the idea that everybody might make the playoffs this year should they be allowed to travel. But there's also inherent risk. And, I've heard from athletic directors, there's some coaches that are older. There's some concern there. There's some concern about, how it's going to work with kids who aren't in school all day and then they're coming to practice after, and can they get there and things like that. So with everything else in life, we're in completely uncharted territory. This year, hopefully, is a 1-year pilot program that we'll never have to visit again. Let's all hope. But it's going to be very interesting. And there's a lot more unknown than there is known at this point, even to the minutia of, how are timeouts going to work when everybody's got their own water bottle as opposed to the water being run out onto the field for them. So nobody knows.
Right. All right. Well, it sounds like we're going to see. I mean, the experiment's going to go forward, as it has with the people going back to school. So we'll keep our fingers crossed. John, thanks for being here. Hey, let us know if anything else breaks.
Thanks, boys.
All right. Take care.
Thanks, John. So we're here, Gil. Anything from Martin County yet?
I am checking as we speak.
I'll go put the Indian River back on. We've got a request from one of our viewers to put.
Okay.
Oh, that's Port St. Lucie. That doesn't work.
Okay.
We'll put it. Go ahead, Gil.
I'm not seeing results yet, but I am seeing updated voter totals right now. The county supervisor of election is reporting that a total of 39,059 people voted today. And that would be, drum roll, please. That would be a voter turnout of 34%, 34.1%. So again, that's fairly in line with historic averages. COVID didn't really impact the vote today, except to drive people online, as we've mentioned on a couple of occasions. So,
okay, we've got a new. I don't know if Troy McDonald can hear us. The running for Stewart City Council. I'm going to add him in and bring him in to see how he's doing, and maybe he's heard results that we haven't heard. Troy, can you hear us?
I sure can. How you doing, Larry?
Good, Troy.
Troy, how are you? So how's it going? What are you hearing? Tell us a little bit about how's your days going and what you're looking for here.
Well, I'm looking for a win. I haven't learned anything yet. We're here at the Vine and Barley in downtown Stewart. We got a small group of close friends and supporters. Pretty much everybody's got their mask on. I took mine off here for the interview, but we're very excited. We can't wait for the results to come in. We feel really good about this election. I think we ran a strong campaign considering how we were dealing with the COVID and the limitations that were put on by that.
How did COVID limit your campaigning as opposed to, you're a former city commissioner, you've sat on the commission before. How did COVID limit your campaigning this time as opposed to previous campaigns?
The grassroots campaigning of getting out there and going door to door and having in-person meet and greets with small groups of people in their home. Back when I first entered this, right before the COVID hit, we put a strategy out. We had actually had already scheduled throughout the election cycle 15 plus small, intimate meet and greets with over coffee with people in their homes, and we obviously could not do that. We did not do a big campaign kickoff like we would often do. So we really had to adjust our game and how we were going to do this. And it was messaging on Facebook, phone calls, some emails, but also direct mail, and relying on good relationships that we have in the community already.
Okay, very good. Well, listen, if you win tonight, and you're the front runner, I have to say, we did endorse you, and we wouldn't be surprised to see you take the race here. What's your priority if, in fact, you do gain a seat on the commission? What's going to be your top priority going forward for the city of Stewart?
Well, I think the top priority, not only for the city of Stewart, but it's going to be for all local and probably state governments, is the COVID response. We really need to get through this so we can focus on our other goals. But that doesn't, notwithstanding the COVID, we still need to stick to our guns in dealing with the river. We got to continue the fight to stop the discharges. We also really need to look at our budget. One of my biggest things I'm going to be focusing on is the budget and making sure that we maintain services if we do have a downturn. As you are aware, and I know you guys know this because you guys are so well informed, is that the taxes are in the rears. So we're basing all of our taxes on 2019 numbers. So there's going to be, next year, we may see an adjustment. I think the real estate market is holding up great, but we also don't know about some of the other numbers for some shared revenues in the future regarding sales tax, business receipt tax, franchise fees for electrical power, and so forth. So we're going to really need to watch those so that we can ensure that we have great services continuing into the future.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a challenging fiscal environment going forward. And again, the impact hasn't really hit yet, but as Troy's saying, I think it will. So it's going to be a tough time, I think, for a lot of folks. But, but anyway, Troy, thanks for being here today. We appreciate it. Any other reflections on the campaign? You want to say thanks to some people here?
Yeah, I'd love to say thank you. I just want to say thank you to all the residents of the city of Stewart. They've given me a lot of love and care during this process, not only now, but in my previous time on the commission. But most importantly, I want to thank my beautiful wife, Portia. She's over there. And I want her to come over here if you don't mind. Portia, would you come here?
Sure.
My wife is dressed in white today because today is the 100th anniversary of women getting the right to vote. Hey, she might want to say something about that. Nothing like putting my beautiful wife on the spot.
Absolutely.
But I have some wonderful people here: Sue Canine, Gary Owen, my cousin Veronica, and her fiance Scott, Mark Breckville, amongst others. But there's been just so many people that have been so supportive of me throughout my time in the public life, and I very much look forward to getting back to representing the city of Stewart in the manner that I've done in the past, and I plan on doing even a better job than I've done before.
All right. Very good.
From 4 people.
All right. Thank you. All right. Well, thanks, Troy. We appreciate it. Again, good luck. We don't have results yet, but good luck to you for the rest of the evening, and thanks for being here with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you guys very much, Larry.
Thanks, Troy.
All right. Take care, Troy.
All right.
Take care.
Indian River, we've got a big, bunch of results in Indian River. We've got the leading county commission, one of the leading county commission candidates in the room, Laura Moss. Indian River, we've got Laura, leading county commission, one of the leading county commission candidates in the room, Laura Moss, River.
Can I hear?
We got some feedback.
Can
Can
you-
you hear us, Laura?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, that sounds
I don't
good. Yeah, how are you doing
Oh,
tonight?
good. Because I'm hoping to make history. You know, little known fact, local history. Only 8 women have served on county commission, Indian River County Commission, since 1925. Only 8. So I'm hoping to be number 9. It's very exciting.
And you're in a good spot right now with 28,000 votes in. You've got 47% Bob Allwaters at about 31%. Steve Boyle's down at 22. So you're having a great night. It looks like so far.
So far, so good. You know, I was a little hesitant. As you know, I'm a war horse. I've run was it 6 out of the last 7 years I've run for office. And with city council, we had that extra election. So I've run 3 out of 4 of the last few years. And that gives you plenty of practice. And you know what? Even if I were not running for office, I'm always out in the community. I'm not the kind of person where I only show up when I'm running for office. I love the people of this community, and I love spending my time with them. And I think after 4 years, they know that. And I'm hoping the feeling is mutual, and I'll find out tonight.
That's right. And you've got, one of the things that you've done, you talk about getting all over the place, and you've had to get out of Vero Beach. You've had to go to Sebastian and Fellsmere and other places. What was that like in the area?
Well, Larry, do you remember when we were at the it was the Roseland Women's Club? You were there. It was years ago. Do you remember that little, oh gosh, it was that green glass? I think it was Depression era. Remember, with the little teacups, the tea service?
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
You were there. And that, that was years ago. I mean, I wasn't thinking of county commission at that time. I'm not that calculating, frankly, but I'm just having a good time. And I got to know them at that time. I mean, this was years ago. They were just so darn sweet. What happened with that was I had run for hospital district in 2014, first race I had ever run. And I almost won. And frankly, I didn't know what I was doing, not with hospital district, because I attended their meetings for a year before I ran for that office. So I had a PhD in hospital district, but I mean, politically, I was an unknown, but I got to know them. And when I lost, I'll never forget this. This was January. The first race I ran was November of 2014. So this would have been January following. And I'm sitting in the front row, and they said, well, the good thing is about your losing is now we can ask you to be on our board of directors. And that was the Roseland Community Association, because they said, Larry, because you were there, Roseland is a state of mind. That's what they always said. Right. And that's how a girl from Vero Beach ends up on the board of directors of the Roseland Community Association. And that was years ago. And they're just so charming. I mean, we have a beautiful community, a beautiful county, and I look forward to knowing all of it. I mean, I know a lot of people now, but I look forward to meeting many more.
That's for sure. And you had a big meeting today, and you talked about the 3 corners in Vero.
Oh, yes. And thank you, by the way, for doing that live stream the other night. I think that was a big help. Irina talked about that today. For anyone who's watching this broadcast and did not see the city council meeting this morning, we did spend quite a bit of time talking about 3 corners. The meetings are always recorded. You can watch them at your convenience. I always say, when you're tired of all your favorite reruns, watch city council. It's fascinating, especially this. But the city website is covb.org. The meeting this morning went from 8:30 until 1 o'clock in the afternoon. But we did spend quite a lot of time talking about 3 corners, and we did mention your broadcast. Irina was there, and Mr. Dewhort was there by Zoom, and he talked about that. He talked about the future. But what we decided to do, for those who don't have time to watch the video or the interest, we decided to do was just postpone it. We had talked about, as you know, Larry, we had talked about it going to referendum, and we decided with the COVID and with the changing circumstances that we would hold off on that, although not necessarily for an entire year. See, you could do that. For those who don't know, there's a city council election every single year, so you don't have to pay for anything extra. There's 2 seats are up, then 3. For example, this November, 3 seats will be up. And I think there's only one person running right now. So that should, that'll be the next interesting race. But it won't, I don't think it'll be as fascinating as Sebastian. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But what we decided was just to postpone it. It's not going to happen in November, but that we don't necessarily need to wait an entire year to do this. And I think Mr. Dewhort made a good point, and he did say this right from the start. I remember his saying this, maybe you do too, Larry. He said that he didn't see it being on a ballot with a contentious presidential election. And he's right. That is such an important piece of property to our community in terms of its monetary value, in terms of the legacy we want to leave. That's a hugely important piece of property. And he felt right from the start that it deserved to stand alone in the minds of the community and to command full attention. And I understand that. I agree with his point of view on that. So this did happen as a result of COVID. I mean, he started to rethink it, as you know, well, from the live stream the other night. But I do agree with him. So my guess is that, and we're not going to lose enthusiasm on this. Everybody loves that piece of property, and it will be a true legacy. I think it'll be beautiful when it's done. And I think we should leave part of it for the future to decide, for the people who are not even born as of today. But my guess is it will end up being a special, a special election, the referendum. I mean, because that way, and he said it today, for anybody who doesn't have time to watch, what Mr. Dewhort said was, it's so important that it really should be a standalone showcase decision, and only people who have taken the time to become informed, like watch your live stream, participate in what you're doing and what Irene is doing, only the people who are really truly informed should be weighing in on it. So you want to get as many people as you can on the one hand, but on the other hand, you don't want people who are coming in and don't know what it's about, because it's so important. It's a bit of a balancing act. And it was interesting when he said that. I thought about it, and I thought, he's right. I think he's right about that.
So let me ask you, Laura, if the results hold tonight, what will be sort of the first thing you do on the county commission? What will be some of your first?
Get on out there, come on. I mean, Sebastian annexation, and I said this, I think I submitted it. We answered so many questions. I felt like I was running for president. Biden spends his time in the basement, and we're out there, we're Zooming, how many times, and by the way, I want to thank my opponents right now, whatever happens, because I think all of us, ran a good race. It was very, clear and clean and clear cut. And I want to thank both of them, whatever happens. And nothing's finalized to my knowledge. So, but, get out there, because that Sebastian annexation, I think part of it was just, it could have been facilitated. The county commission might have been more helpful at that time. And I would see playing that role, partnerships. I think we work better when we work together.
Well, that'll be different, having and you bring an interest.
That's what I've heard.
Coming from Vero Beach, working together. I know the county and the city have butted heads as well, just as the county has butted heads with Sebastian. So,
yeah, and think about it, Larry. With the airport too. I mean, I think it's a wonderful thing that we have that airport and that we have an airline. I call it a boutique airline, in a sense. But we are really special. I'm not just throwing that word around. We truly are. I think we warrant a boutique airline, or whatever, however you choose to categorize it. But I think we need, for a city of the size we are, that small, to maintain and subsidize it becomes a bit challenging. And we're into this now. For those who don't know, we were at 80-20 in terms of grants, federal and state grants, meaning the city paid only 20% and 80% of it was covered by other agencies, governmental agencies. However, now we have enough traffic that it was going to drop to 50-50, and the city was going to have a problem with that. So we have 3 years and counting to figure it out. But I would see potentially some kind of, Port Authority, and there should be collaboration, because certainly more than the city of Vero Beach wants an airport functioning the way we do, and I think would be happy to support it. We need to look very carefully at what we're doing, and maybe reconfigure some of it. Okay.
And what about tourist tax and things like that? Those should be some interesting discussions
too. And because the thing of it is, and you probably know this, the numbers for from the VBLA, from Vero Beach Lifeguard Association, will have like 80 and 90,000 visits, in a month. So you're not talking about the city, and they're not all German tourists at this point either. So it's a city-county collaboration. And with tourist tax, I would like to see that used for public safety. That's that lifeguard stand. I mean, I had to run for county commission to get it, but it's going to work out.
That sounds good. Anything else you wanted to tell us about before you go back to watching the results?
Yeah, just like I said, I would really like to to commend my opponents, however it ends. And I understand it's not finalized. And you know what? I don't really watch it. I just have somebody tell me at the end, what it was.
Are you home tonight? You're not at a big party.
They've been telling me you're doing a great job.
You're not at a big party tonight.
No.
Okay.
Absolutely not.
Good deal. Well, I appreciate it, Laura. Good luck tonight, and good luck if you end up on the county commission. I'm sure we'll see you around. You're everywhere anyway, it seems like. So thanks for coming on tonight. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Larry. Good talking to you.
Okay, so we've got some results coming in from Martin County, Gil.
That's right. Martin County is resulting all 28 of 28 precincts reporting.
Wow.
Right now. Right. So these may be the final totals. Brian Mast cruises with 87.62% of the vote over challenger Nick Vesio for Representative Congressional District 18. The presumptive winner at this point, State Rep District 82 primary, is John Snyder, 68% of the vote versus 23.5 for Rick Cozell. Carl J. Domino had 8.41. Jenny Fields. A lot of people have been asking about this one. We've been getting a lot of comments in the comment stream. This is the race for property appraiser. This was one we were watching. This was going to be really, really contentious. It might be close, we thought. Jenny Fields with, at this point, 69.2% of the vote, 25,000 votes, a little over that. Kelly Glass Layton, the former Stewart City Commissioner, with 31% of the vote. If this result holds, Jenny Fields, longtime deputy in that office, will ascend to the top spot. County Commission race, District 1. This is the Doug Smith, Joe Neeson race. Smith with 63% of the vote at this point. Neeson with 36% of the vote. That's a pretty good showing for Joe. So Smith would be the presumptive victor there. This is interesting. This is the Democratic primary for Congressional District 18. Pam Keefe, 79% of the vote to Oz Vasquez's 21% of the vote. I didn't think it was going to be such a disparity there. State Senator District 25, Corinna Balderramos Robinson, 71% to Reinaldo Daniel Diaz, 29%. Circuit Judge, again, this is another race we've been watching. Victoria Griffin, the incumbent. In Martin County, 64% of the vote to Lou Larson's 36% of the vote. If these results hold, Victoria Griffin will be reelected as judge. City of Stewart, here we go. Group 3, this Merritt Matheson, the incumbent, at this point has 67% of the vote. The challenger, Ed Galante, 33% of the vote. If this result holds, Merritt Matheson will retain his seat on the commission. And Group 4, we just had Troy McDonald on. This one may be a little closer than I would have thought. Troy McDonald, 61% of the vote. Karen Hall, Judge Roast, 39% of the vote. If those results hold, Troy will be back on the city commission rather. Village Council seat 1, Village of Indiantown. We had 4 people running. Guyton Stone, the incumbent, I believe, 43.86%. Guy Parker, 41%, was the second highest vote total getter. Village Council seat 2 in Indiantown, Janet Hernandez, the incumbent, 57.84%. Tony Zwiener, 42.16%. There were a couple ballot questions here. The first was the Economic Development Incentive Ad Valorem tax exemption. That was a measure first passed 10 years ago. Basically provides tax breaks for businesses that create jobs or move into Martin County. That passed with 62.5% of the vote. The City of Stewart referendum won. There were 2 referendums in the City of Stewart. One would have barred city officials, sitting city commissioners from running for office while they were still on the commission. And the second one I'm going to have to look up because my brain is freezing. But anyway, which what?
You had term limits on there too.
Term limits, that's right. So I believe the first one was for term limits. That's a nail biter at this point, 50.61% to 49.39%. So right now, that's too close to call. Will they be term limits for the city of Stewart? We don't know at this point. But the second referendum, which was would it bar sitting commissioners from raising money and campaigning while still a commissioner, that passed overwhelmingly, 74.81% to 25.19%. So again, we got to keep our eyes on that referendum. Some interesting results here. The big one that jumps out at me here is Jenny Fields in the race for property appraiser with a resounding victory over Kelly Glass-Layton, 2-1. So that's what we got from here in Martin County at this point, Larry.
That is a big one. And that's the one where, Kelly told us in the interview that she hadn't raised taxes for 4 years in a row. I don't think she'd ever raised them, I think is what she said. And of course, they had raised them for at least 4 years in a row, including big millage hikes the last couple of years. And I wonder if that's one reason. Well, who knows? We'll find out.
Right.
What the impacts of the other races are. We've got Keith Touchberry is entering the green room right here. Keith is running for sheriff in Indian River County. Welcome, Keith. How are you tonight?
Not too bad, Larry. How are you doing?
Good deal. First time running for countywide office. What was it like?
Where do I start? It's one thing to run for an office, but it's another to run for office in the middle of a pandemic and all these other things that have happened, a national police crisis up in Minnesota, and other things. So, those are the items that kind of top the list, and it was a challenge, and it had its highs and lows like any campaign I'm sure have, but it was a worthwhile experience.
Well, right now you're second, are second in the race, way above the two candidates below you. Beyond, Eric Flowers is the leader at this point. I think, one of the things, just my comment about your race is I think you added a lot to it, and you had a lot of really constructive comments out there that, and you handled yourself, very well in terms of being positive about the whole thing. What was it like to have to get into that controversy and with three other guys?
Well, that's a lot of people running for an office, and you're going to split the vote no matter what. It's all about how you sell yourself in your campaign and your message. I think our message was strong from the very beginning, and I maintain that those things that I campaigned for, the need to change leadership and culture, are as real and prevalent today as they were on the day that I first said it. And so regardless of the outcome of this race, we do need to see some very serious changes at our sheriff's office. And I hope that whoever wins this race is going to make those changes.
And just for the viewers out there, Keith is the police chief of Ellesmere up in Indian River County, and he worked for several decades as an officer, was in service as well, is an expert at law enforcement, to put it mildly, as a professor as well. So he knows his law enforcement. Maybe can you talk a little bit about some of the reforms, just, whether it's in Indian River County, Treasure Coast-wide Florida, whatever, that you think ought to be happening in terms of, the things that we're talking about in the last few months?
Did you say reforms?
Reforms, yeah. Changes
Right.
that might be needed, or how to fix things.
Right. I think
during the campaign.
If I understand, you're a little choppy. I don't know if it's you or me, but I think that as a whole, law enforcement in America enjoys high levels of public trust with their communities. I think that some agencies and some people with some agencies do have some problems, and those problems need to be rectified at the local level. That's what you have elections for if it involves the county sheriff's office. That's why you have appointed officials like police chiefs who work for city managers or strong mayors, depending on the form of government where they work. But you have to handle those problems locally. So as far as reform goes, our legislature was already poised to deal with some issues regarding reform. They want to address some sentencing guidelines. They want to address some fine or the thresholds for certain crimes, determining what is an actual felony now versus a misdemeanor. and of course the punishments that are going to happen as a result. We do also see some public trust motivated measures that some people would like to see happen. Body cameras is a good example of that. Some communities are demanding that their agencies do buy body cameras, and that's just because they've lost trust with that organization. But that's going to vary across America. And I think what's most important for people to remember is that policing is different in every community, and the levels of trust that communities enjoy with their law enforcement agencies are going to differ. And we can't paint law enforcement across America with the same brush. We have to understand what's happening locally. Let's not fall victim to national level narratives that don't apply, and especially if they're false narratives. And let's focus on supporting our local law enforcement.
So if you had advice to give to the next sheriff of Indian River County, in a minute or two, what might it be?
Be transparent, be trustworthy, but most importantly, be worthy. Be worthy of the public trust, be worthy of the office that you hold. Remember that you put your pants on one leg at a time. You're a human being, and don't get drunk with power and authority. Exercise your powers and authority wisely, and do the right thing, because that's what we should all be doing is always try to do the right thing.
Okay, and you'll be there in Fellsmere having to work with that sheriff's department, next sheriff and the sheriff's department.
Absolutely. Like I said from the beginning, I don't have to resign to run. I have a job if I don't win. And I'm still the police chief for the city of Fellsmere. I'm still a police chief in the state of Florida, a member of the Florida Police Chiefs Association. And, the future looks bright regardless. Well, I appreciate it, Keith. And, good luck the rest of the night. And we'll see you around, I'm sure. Absolutely. Thank you. And thank you for the opportunity to come on and speak with everyone. Sure thing, Keith. Thanks. And that was Keith Touchberry, one of the candidates for sheriff in Indian River County. He's currently in second place, trailing the leader, Eric Flowers, who's a major with the department, by quite a number of votes, actually. He's got about 28% of the vote in a four-way race, but he added a lot to the race, as did the other candidates, all veteran law enforcement officers. Gil, anything new on your end?
We've got some fresh results here in St. Lucie County, where 50 of 64 precincts have reported. We are seeing some new totals here. We got Brian Mast is still up very handily on his challenger, Nick Vesio. That's the Republican primary for U.S. Congress District 18. And for the Democratic primary for that same seat, that's Pam Keith cruising with 77 or almost 79% of the vote. A really, really close race. We mentioned it earlier, but this is the primary for County Commission District 1 Democratic Party. Incumbent Chris Zadowski is holding on by his fingernails, 50.66% of the vote. His challenger, Robin Doug Bino, has 49.34% of the vote. The difference between those two candidates is about 325 votes right now. So again, that's one to watch here. As we saw in Martin County, incumbent judge, Circuit 19, Group 11, Victoria Griffin winning handily over challenger Lou Larson, 68% in St. Lucie County versus Larson's 32%. In the six-way race for Fort Pierce mayor, Linda Hudson, the incumbent, is clearly distancing herself from the pack. She's got nearly half the vote, 45.85%. Nearest competitor is Donna Benton with 19.51%. Reggie Sessions, at this point, would look to be holding on to his seat. He's got about 38% of the vote in the District 1 Fort Pierce City Commission race. And City Council, Port St. Lucie City Council District 2, David Pickett, at this point is up with 44% of the vote, 29% for John Hahn, 27% for Chancellor Howell. His challengers, again, that is to replace John Caravelli on the Port St. Lucie City Council. Voter turnout so far in St. Lucie County, 24.1%. That's going to rise as we get reports from more precinct, but that seems to be trailing what we've seen both in Martin and St. Lucie County today. Again, we're still waiting on a bunch of results here in St. Lucie County, but we do have some updated numbers. And you got some races here where it doesn't, unless some sort of miracle happens, I think we could call some of these. So, and again, same with Martin County. 93% of the votes are in Martin County. We still got 7% that are only partially reported. But I think we're seeing some fairly definitive results there as well, Larry.
Thanks, Gil. In Indian River County, we've had a couple of school board races, and we're going to bring in one of the candidates who happens to be leading at this point, Peggy Jones. She's up. Welcome, Peggy.
Hi, Larry. Thank you.
Sure. Peggy right now is leading with 61, almost 62% of the vote against Laura Zork, who's the school board chairman, a one-term incumbent, with 28,000 votes. I think there were 40-some thousand cast. So there is still a way to go, but you are in the lead so far.
Yeah, that's so cool. I'm excited.
And it was a tough race, right? It was
a tough race. I mean, I've never done this before. We started talking about it last summer, June of 2019. And then I went and visited many organizations and individuals from August through December, filed in January and kept rolling until about mid-March. And then things kind of stopped. So thank the Lord, I have millennial children who ran my social media and webpage and had a lot of Zoom forums. So it was challenging, but I've always been in it for the students, teachers, and parents. So I'm very excited right now. Very excited.
Yeah. So what do you think? Have you been following what's going on in Martin County with some of the quarantining and things like that of the students?
Just a little bit. And I know there's a board meeting tomorrow night, which is a very important board meeting because our students go back on Monday, August 24th. And obviously, I'm very concerned because when we get all the kids back, sure there will be some issues with COVID. And it's interesting how certain counties are handling it. So I'll be watching it carefully. As we all know, the most important thing that we can do for our students and staff is keep them safe. So I'll be following it closely.
Okay. What was it like to run a campaign exactly? I know it was challenging. What was it like? Did you feel like you were hampered by the COVID-19, not being able to get out and things like that?
Yes. Like I said, when I started last August, really talking to groups and individuals, I just loved getting out into the community. And when I filed then in January and set my 3 platforms, I was going out 3 to 4 times a week, attending school district meetings or just meetings in general in the community. And then in March, when it kind of stopped, it was hard. I really love being with people. And although I had many Zoom forums, which were great, and go-to meetings and teams, I just missed being around people. But I did my best to keep up with people on email, social media, Facebook. So it was a challenge, and I've never done it before. So I guess I didn't know any differently.
That's a good point. That's a good point. That is challenging. What would be, if you do get elected and the results hold, what would be some of the first things you'd like to accomplish?
Well, I mean, student achievement is always number one. I think we talked about this in our interview, looking at, our scores pre-K, looking at 3rd grade scores, middle school gains, high school graduation rate. But in order for students to achieve, you've got to have a safe learning environment. So security, safety, and of course, COVID safety would also be something that would be very, very important. Closing the achievement gap with our African-American students. I know we can do it. I know we can put in plans that will make it work for our students. And just keeping involved with the community and the parent needs. I mean, this community, and I've been here 40 years now, we just, I think, work really well as a team. And I want to be part of that team because we all have the same goal. And that is our students graduating from our schools and then going on to their next journey in life. It could be college, it could be career in tech, it could be anything, but just working together with the community so that we can give our kids the best education possible.
Okay, thanks, Peggy. Any interesting things that you gleaned from the campaign trail that you'd like to share with the audience?
Well, we started holding signs probably July 4th. We didn't want to start too early. We put our signs up around March, but and then we really kicked it in like the end of July till now, about every day. And I just want to thank all those companions of mine who came out on some very, very, very hot days, to hold those signs because, I really wanted to get the votes from the people. And we were out there. I actually had a blast wherever I was. We tried to switch it up almost every day, but I guess that's just something, I guess, when people know that you're there and you're going to put the work forward and you're going to answer the questions, I guess that's the one thing I gleaned is just, be there for the people.
Yeah. And where did you get the big signs that you had up? You didn't put up those little printed signs. You had big painted signs.
Yes. You mean which company did we get them with?
Yeah. Did a company do that or did?
Yeah, we did. We work with ABC Printing and Fast Signs.
Okay.
I always like to do things locally. Yeah. And they were wonderful because all of a sudden we started putting them out and they said, well, other people want signs. So we had to order 10 more, then order 10 more, and they get them to us in a day. So I always like to think, you can think globally, but act locally.
That's right. So while we have you on the line, we had John Santucci on earlier, our prep reporter, talking about fall sports. As a former FHSA official, what's your take on fall sports? Have you thought about that at all?
Yes, I actually, when that information came out on Friday, I called the associate executive director there of compliance and eligibility because a lot of the people I work with are still up there. And basically, you can start when they tell you to start, or some districts are holding back. Like the last I heard from Dade County, I'm not sure what they're doing at this point, but they were not going to start on August 24th. And I heard of some other counties that Mr. Damon told me that were starting a little later. If we do start, we just have to be very, very careful. But my feeling is even with school and sports, we're going to start. And then what's happening around us is people are getting sick and getting COVID. So we'll just have to backtrack and hold a little bit more. So I think we're in for interesting times until we get a vaccine. That's my feeling in general.
All right, Peggy. Well, congratulations on your lead tonight, and we'll see what happens over the course of the rest of the night. And I'm sure you've got some other things to do tonight, and we don't want to hold you up. But thank you for coming on, and good luck.
Thank you very much. Bye, Gil. Bye, Larry.
Thank you, Peggy. So we're back, and that was Peggy Jones. She happens to be up as we speak. With the precincts aren't in, but there were so many mail-in and early ballots. She was up in her school board race by 61.7% against Laura Zork, the chairman of the school board, who had 38.29%. Gil, any updates in the other counties? Martin County, pretty much.
We're still waiting for the last of the results to come in Martin County, but based on the fact that we've got more than 92% precincts reporting in almost all races, I think we can call a couple of these races fairly definitively. The ones that are not involving districts spanning multiple county lines, we can't call those. But the property appraiser race in Martin County, I think we can call Jenny Fields as the winner of this race. 92.86 precincts are reporting. Fields with 69.19% of the vote to Kelly Glass Layton's 30.81% of the vote. 14,000 votes separated the two. That's a pretty resounding win for Jenny Fields. County Commission District 1 with almost 93% of precincts reporting. TCPalm can call Doug Smith, a multiple incumbent. Doug Smith is the winner with, at this point, 63.92% of the vote to Joe Neeson's 36% of the vote. We can call in the City Stewart Commission Group 3 race, the incumbent Merritt Matheson is the winner. 100% precincts reporting, so this is done deal. Merritt Matheson with 67% of the vote to Ed Galante's 33% of the vote. City Commission Group 4, Troy McDonald is the winner, 61.2% of the vote to Karen Hall Yost Rudge's 38.8% of the vote. And the two ballot questions in the City of Stewart, the ballot question on whether there should be term limits, that one we're still at a nail biter. 100% of precincts are reporting, but it's 50.6 to 49.4%. Yes, at this point, the yes votes hold the upper hand. That's going to be an interesting one to keep in mind here. And then the referendum that would prohibit sitting city commissioners from campaigning and raising funds while they're on the commission, that passed resoundingly with almost 75% of the vote. Well, I also mentioned the Martin County Economic Development Incentive ad valorem tax exemption ballot question with 93% of the precincts reporting. That looks like it's definitely going to win with 62.5% saying yes that exemption should be reauthorized. So Martin County results are almost completely in at this point. We're still looking at 50 of 64 precincts reporting in St. Lucie County. So it's a little too early to make any sort of calls there. Numbers haven't changed since we last went over them. And again, we got some really interesting races. The one I'm watching in here in particular is County Commission District 1 Democrats, Chris Zadowski, the incumbent, barely holding on with 50.66% to challenger Robin Doug Bino's 49.34%. What's going on up in Indian River, Larry?
Still officially, according to the website, 0 of 35 precincts reporting. But the early votes are completely in. Vote by mail is still partially in, but we're talking about a lot of votes having been cast already, or having been counted already. If you look at the, just picking one race here, almost 29,000 votes cast in the tax collector race. I think there were a little over 42,000 cast altogether. But Carol Jean Jordan, I think seeking her third term, has a commanding lead over Brenda Bradley, who used to work for her, was her chief deputy for a while. Again, it's only, when you talk about the congressional race up here, it's one of, 2 or 3 counties. Bill Posey, the incumbent, with almost 10,000 votes. He's got 63.25% of the vote against Scott Kane. Scott Kane is a Vero Beach resident, so in his own county, he's not fared as well as he probably could have. And then if you look at the sheriff's race, no surprise, Eric Flowers, 63% of the vote is in the lead. I think he probably was the favorite. Keith Touchberry, who was gracious enough to come on a few minutes ago, he had 24% of the vote, with Rich Roselle at 7 and Chuck Kirby at 6. Again, there was only about 15,892 votes cast in that race, although that is a Republican primary, not a universal primary, because the winner will face a candidate, a no party affiliation candidate, in November. Tax collector we talked about, and then as you go down to the county commission, Joe Ehrman, who was second in a 4-person race 4 years ago. He's a retired fire captain. He's got 62% of the vote against 2-term incumbent Tim Zork. So we've got a couple of incumbents having an issue here. That includes his wife, Laura Zork, who's got 38% of the vote, to Peggy Jones, 62% of the vote. She was on to talk about that a little bit ago. She's a school board member, District 3. And the other school board race, the leader is Brian Barefoot so far with 64%, to Alla Kramer, who's got 36%. Brian Barefoot, the former president of Babson, former mayor of Indian River Shores. Alla Kramer is a local businesswoman and former teacher. As we look at we had Laura Zork on earlier in the other county commission rate, District 5. Laura Moss. She leads in that race with 47% almost. Bob Allwater's got 31, but again, 0 precincts in. Steve Boyle's in third place in that race with 22%. And then, it looks like the Indian River County referendum for the school district to continue the extra tax to fund the schools, 78% in favor. So seems to be a big support of that. And then, the circuit judge race, Judge Griffin seems to have a commanding lead over the challenger, Lou Larson. And so that's the latest from Indian River County.
If you look at some of the races involving state and even federal candidates, a lot of these races, the districts span county lines, so you can't glean who's going to be the victor from looking at any one county or results. But we're seeing some similarities here. For example, in Martin County, so the Republican primary, Congressional District 18, is Brian Mash, the incumbent, versus Nick Vesio, the challenger. We heard some folks, I believe it was Ed Killer, report earlier that Vesio's campaign webpage went down today. His Facebook website was sort of taken off, and they've been unable to reach him. He did not do well in Martin County. Mass got almost 88% of the vote. In St. Lucie County, Mass got 86% of the vote. I don't think that surprises anyone. Again, and Mass, part of that district is down in Palm Beach County as well. But I think at this point, it's fairly safe to say that Brian Mast has won the Republican primary in the U.S. Congressional District 18. In some of these state races that we're seeing here, and I'm going to flip over here and see if I can't select the Martin County page, if that's possible.
Hey, Gil.
Yeah.
Looks like Adam Neal's reporting that Congressman Mast has just claimed himself the winner in that race.
Okay. I think that sounds about right. Hang on a second here. Okay. These are, this is St. Lucie County results. So again, you can see Brian Mast right here, 87% of the vote. The Democratic candidate who will face him in November, the primary, has Pam Keith against Oz Vasquez. Pam Keith, as you can see here, and the results are very, very similar in Martin County, cruised over Oz Vasquez here, 78.55% to 21.5% for Vasquez. In Martin County, she had 79% to 21% for Vasquez. So that was a fairly convincing. Again, if those numbers hold down at Palm Beach County, it looks like it'll be Pam Keith going up against Brian Mast for U.S. Congressional District 18 representative this fall. We have here in St. Lucie County, I'm looking at, this is the Democratic primary for State Senator, Senatorial District 25. This would be the Democratic candidate to face off against Senator Gail Harrell. We have Corinna Balderramos Robinson with 73% of the vote in Martin County. She's also up with 71% of the vote. So again, there's a portion of Palm Beach County there that also includes that district. But it looks at this point like Corinna Balderramos Robinson may well be the challenger for Gail Harrell, State Senator Gail Harrell, the Republican, this fall. State Representative, House District 55, Kaylee Tuck at this point is up 52 to 48%. That's a close race, something we want to watch. Dana Trubisky here is up 77% over Eileen Vargas to 23%. This is State Rep District 84. The Republican race for sheriff, the primary for sheriff to go up against a Democratic sheriff, Ken Mascara, in the fall. Kevin Carter seems to have a commanding lead here, almost 64%. So as you can see, you know, there's some races that are still very, very close. And we've talked about this one, County Commission District 1. This one looks fairly close as well here. County Commission District 5, Henry Dewhart, 43% of the vote. Kurt Holden, 36% of the vote. And then third candidate, Fritz Alexander, with 21% of the vote. So that one bears watching here as well. We've seen this in all three counties, Victoria Griffin over Lou Larson. So, and again, here's Linda Hudson with a fairly commanding lead at this point in the mayor of Fort Pierce race, the six-way race up there. So, you know, we've got some, we're still waiting on some numbers here. We're still, Martin County is almost 100% in, but we're still waiting on 14 precincts, I believe, in St. Lucie County. I'm not sure how much is still out up in Indian River County, but we're beginning to get a feel for the lay of the land here and who's going to be on the ticket here come fall, or in many cases, who's already won their seats. So,
yeah, thanks, Gil. You know, still 0% of the precincts reporting, although most of the votes are in. By far, most of the votes are in River County. We've got a statement here from Brian Mast, Congressman Brian Mast, who represents most of St. Martin and then some areas in Palm Beach County. He's got his victory statement, and he's already on the attack against his opponent tonight in the Democratic primary, Pam Keith. Mast talks about, here's his quote: "My time in Congress has been spent working with anybody willing to fight to clean up our waterways, help my fellow veterans, support our neighbors recovering from coronavirus, defend seniors, and more. In short, my job is fighting all day, every day for all people I have the honor to represent." Here he goes. My opponent, Pam Keith, on the other hand, is now asking for your vote not to represent, but rather to have the hateful bully pulpit she has been seeking in elections all across the state for the majority of the last decade. Her time is spent self-promoting with prejudiced and bigoted speech, demonizing all Republicans literally as traitors, racist, stupid, and rights supremacist. I'll leave it at that. But obviously, that race is not going to be the most friendly out there come November.
No, it's probably going to be seen as a real contentious battleground race. Florida, this district is fairly purple. You know, Martin County is very red. St. Lucie County is Democratic, and Palm Beach County leans Democratic as well. So Mast is no shoo-in. Mast has been fairly strong on environmental issues, the water crisis that we've had in Martin County. But again, how well that plays in St. Lucie and Palm Beach counties, we don't know. So Mast could be facing sort of a real tough slog here. Pam Keith is herself a veteran, I believe. She's going to bring the fight to Mast. You know, she's going to be seen sort of as maybe one of a new wave, a new type of legislators. She's pugnacious. She's not afraid to get in the arena and mix it up. Mast is not going to have a real easy time with her. And again, Mast is very closely identified with President Donald Trump. Depending on how you feel about Trump, that may influence how you feel about Mast. So it'll be interesting to see to what extent, if at all, Mast tries to distance himself from Trump during this election. So,
yeah, still. Oh, go ahead, Gil.
I just want a quick mention. We got a question from Becky Bruner, City Commissioner, City of Stewart, Mayor, I believe, asking about Indiantown results. We do have some results from Indiantown here. What we're seeing right at this point, and let me see if I can share my screen so that everybody can see it. Let's see. Is that it? That is it. Okay. So we go down to Indiantown. We are seeing, this is Village Council Seat 1, Guyton Stone, the incumbent. Boy, he's fighting off a challenge. 43.86% to 41% for Guy Parker. The other two candidates are pretty much out of it at this point. Village Council Seat 2, Janet Hernandez is the incumbent. She's got 58%. Tony Zwiener, 42%. 100% precincts reporting. I think we can report that Janet Hernandez has retained her seat. Village Council Seat 2, the Village of Indiantown. We got 100% of precincts reporting here, just a difference of 27 votes between Guyton Stone and Guy Parker. So at this point, it would appear Guyton Stone is the victor there. That is quite a narrow victory in terms of retaining his seat on the commission. We got a couple nail biters here tonight, Larry.
Sure do. Let's see. We've got in the green room right now, we've got Brian Barefoot, who is a school board candidate, has done a lot in the community, was the former mayor of Indian River Shores, and he's running for school board tonight. And welcome, Brian. Good night so far. It looks like you're way ahead in the early results.
Well, I'm thankful for that. It's better than the alternative, as they say.
That's for sure. What was it like? What was it like running for office in this time of a pandemic?
Well, it was different, for sure. In some respects, I think it may have been to my advantage. I'm involved in a lot of different things, so being able to participate in a lot of these forums and conferences and interviews via Zoom or WebEx or whatever platform probably worked to my advantage. I didn't have to be all over the place. I could probably impact more people that way than running around to local barbecues and picnics and all that sort of stuff. So I think, and plus I'm very used to it because I sit on a few other boards, and during this period of time, everything is done virtually. So pretty comfortable environment for me.
Well, you've got us. It looks like right now, with most of the votes counted, 64% to 36% to your opponent, Paula Kramer. And can you talk a little bit about what you'd hope to accomplish when you get on the school board?
Well, I think I've said this a number of times. My, I guess you say surprise, maybe even shock, to find out about the county or the district being under deseg order for 52 years. I mean, who would have ever thought that was possible? I mean, it's probably a world record if they keep records of I spent enough time with a couple of the key people involved there, the litigants. I'm trying to be helpful to a committee that Greg Stewart chairs, which is recruiting. When I was president of Babson, and I think as a general statement, one of the problems there that the district faces is lack of teachers of color, staff of color, and it's a challenge recruiting good teachers of color. Everybody wants good teachers of color. I think percentage-wise, the district is way behind there, but I think I can be helpful there. I'm a pretty good recruiter, and so that would be one. Monitoring the district's finances. I think they're in good shape this year, but next year is a big unknown because tax revenues around the state are going to be way down. So there's no guarantee that the money is going to be available for every school, for any of the school districts compared to what they're used to getting in the state. So hopefully I can help the district there, maybe set some priorities. I was happy to see the last I heard the millage was passing fairly comfortably, which is good because if that $9 or $10 million was not available next year, obviously it's already in this year's budget, that would present an even bigger challenge for Dr. Moore. So the achievement gap. I mean, you know that virtual learning is difficult for everybody, not just African American children. So I'm sure that in a lot of ways they've fallen further behind. Teachers are not necessarily comfortable teaching in that environment. I think they'll be much better prepared, obviously, here in the fall. So there's a lot to do, and there's 5 of us on that board. I think we will. I think everybody pretty much sees the world the same way. I think it'll be a good group to work with, and I think we'll get a lot accomplished, and more importantly, support Dr. Moore and his team.
Well, according to the results so far, you might have another new school board member. Peggy Jones was up fairly handily the last I checked. It was she had almost 62% of the vote against the school board chairman, Laura Zork, who had 38%. And we're told, by the way, that the numbers are accurate on the Indian River County website. It's the vote totals. It's the precincts reporting that is inaccurate. It says 0 out of 35, but those numbers apparently are higher. Well, with a new school board chairman, what do you think that would be like, Brian?
Say that again, Larry. I missed it.
With a new school board chairman, Laura Zork will be gone. Do you think that would work out okay?
Well, somebody's going to get elected school board chairman. We'll see who it is. I think that, well, we'll just have to see. The one thing I learned, not that I needed to learn it, when I was mayor of Indian River Shores, I was mayor. That gives you an advantage, perhaps in running meetings. And it certainly gives you a little bit of influence over the agenda. But at the end of the day, it's a distinction without a difference. You still only 1 vote out of 5. Whoever's the board chair is elected the board chair by the group of us. Hopefully we'll run the meetings well, represent the district in the various forums that any chairman's look to have to show up for. But the big difference, it's got to be a collegial effort. We've got to agree on priorities. And whoever's in that seat, just provide the kind of leadership and run good, solid meetings and be a great representative around the community for the district as a whole.
All right. Anything else you wanted to talk about before we let you go back to watching the results, whatever?
No, I think I appreciate all the support I've gotten from many parts of the district, the county. I did not know a lot of people up in the Gifford, Fellsmere, Sebastian area, obviously on the Barrier Island and the shores, and a lot of name recognition. When you have a name like Barefoot, it's a little bit of advantage most of the time. It can work against you too, but it's different enough that. And I think that, but I'd like to thank everybody. A lot of folks were out holding signs for me last week during early voting. Again today. The gentleman who did most of the heavy lifting for me particularly when it came to marketing and advertising and ads and all that stuff. Jeff Andrews did a really good job. And so I want to thank everybody, and hopefully I'll be a good representative for all the folks in the county.
Thanks, Brian, and good luck with the rest of the race tonight. I appreciate your coming on.
Thanks, Larry. Thanks, Gil. Have a good evening.
You too.
Okay, we've got Ian Love, one of our reporters, is at it's like the supervisor of elections office in Indian River County, where the site is showing that 0% of the precincts are in yet. There are significant vote totals out there. Can you tell us about that, Ian? Ian, you're muted right now, I think. Okay, Ian Love is at Supervisor of Elections headquarters in Indian River. Can we hear you now? Yeah, we can't hear Ian right now, so maybe we can you hear us, Ian? Okay, we'll come back to you, Ian. We'll be back to Ian Love at the Indian River County election headquarters in just a bit.
Okay. Larry, we've got some updated totals in St. Lucie County. We've got 62 of 64 precincts reporting. We've got a couple really, really close races here. This is one I've been watching all night, but it's narrowed even further. This is County Commission District 1. The incumbent, Chris Zadowski, the Democrat, at this point with 50.39% of the vote. Let me share my screen here because this is very interesting. Hang on here. There we are. Zadowski, 50.39% of the vote. His challenger, Robin Doug Bino, 49.61% of the vote. There is a difference between them of less than 200 votes. And again, we got two more precincts coming in, so this one is going down to the wire. We also have, check this out, School Board District 4, Catherine Hensley is the incumbent, barely hanging on, 41.48% versus 41.23%. Challenger Jennifer Richardson, the difference in that race is 125 votes. It's crazy. So, and again, Hensley is the incumbent there. So, and Zadowski is the incumbent here. So, you know, I got to say, I got to think that St. Lucie County voters here are expressing a bit of an interest in change. You know, when you have incumbents who are facing, you know, that type of stiff competition without any sort of obvious reasons to, you know, to vote against them. You know, it's not like there have been any scandals, there have been any, you know, huge headlines that these candidates, you know, as you know, public servants have done anything really wrong. The appetite for change seems to be there in St. Lucie County. I mean, you know, we can see that as well with the fact that there are 6 people running for mayor in Fort Pierce. Now the incumbent, Linda Hudson, has a, you know, a pretty sizable lead there. And Reggie Sessions, the Fort Pierce District 1 commissioner, is facing 3 challenges, although he's got a fairly decent lead there as well. But, you know, that's kind of interesting, as I said, that there should be such, you know, that race should be so close. Those 2 races I just highlighted should be too close. County Commission District 5, the Democratic primary, it's worth noting here, Henry Dewhort, at this point, 43.58% of the vote. Dewhort, young African-American community organizer, fairly well known, has a pretty big following on Facebook. Young guy, I think he's 25 or 28 years old. A one to watch, you know, someone who's going to have a big impact in this county going forward. And he's doing very well tonight, Larry.
I think one of the interesting things, you know, you talk about St. Lucie County and those incumbents having challenges, was the turnout was significantly lower in St. Lucie County. I think maybe 6% or so from Indian River and St. Lucie County, which were both, you know, in the low 30s.
Right now, with 62 of 64 precincts in, voter turnout was 24.99%. And again, I'm not seeing on the website what percentage of that was mail-in votes and what percentage was people showing up to vote today. But yes, that's significant. I mean, that's like 6, 7, 8%, 9% lower than the voter turnout that we saw in both Indian River and Martin counties. So, again, the people who did show up, I think that's kind of your narrative at this point. The people who did show up largely were voting for change, whereas in Martin County, we saw sort of the incumbents and the favorites, sort of the candidates whom I think everyone expected to win, pretty much did win. So,
yeah. Well, we've got our correspondent Ian Love at the Supervisor of Elections Office in Indian River County, where the precincts are showing 0% counted, but we're told that most of the votes are in. Ian, can you fill us in? Maybe we've got some audio this time. Can you fill us in on what's going on there?
Hopefully, can you hear me, Larry?
We can now. Great job. Yes.
Okay. I had to switch to my cell phone. So I do have, they handed out a report about an hour ago with 33 of the 35 precincts reporting. So I have updated numbers that I can give you.
Sure.
There's no real changes from the early voting. In other words, there's no upsets. But in some of the big races for school board, Peggy Jones had 21,425 votes. Laura Zork, 13,911. For school board, Brian Barefoot had 22,283. Ala Kramer had 12,142. The referendum for the school passed with 29,901 yeses and 8,000 noes. Bill Posey won easily, 12,971 votes to 8,360. And sheriff, Eric Flowers had 13,349 votes. Chuck Kirby.
We lost Ian there. There's Ian back.
Okay. Sorry, I got a phone call. Eric Flowers, 1,372. Chuck Kirby had 1,501. Keith Touchberry, 5,244 votes. For tax collector, Carol Jean Jordan won easily, 24,951 votes to 11,615. Again, I shouldn't say one. This is with 33 of the 35 precincts reporting, but I think most of these totals are going to stand. For county commissioner, Joe Ehrman had 21,592 votes. Tim Zork, 14,081. In the other county commission race, Bob Harwater had 10,764. Steve Boyle, 8,258. And Laura Moss won, or has the most votes, with 15,978. For totals, let's see. It looks like there were a total 37,410 ballots cast so far. They had quite a few absentee ballots. 23,956 of those came in by mail, and early voting had 5,970. So the votes coming in tonight it's relatively low in number compared to the vote that was already in.
Okay, so things look pretty consistent in terms of the results. We've lost Ian again. But anyway, we appreciate your help, Ian, and giving us the updates from Indian River County that we did not have. Some of the numbers were just not in on the website. So good information there. And again, if we can sort of post the Indian River results here, and just sort of go over those real quick. And this will probably be, there probably won't be many changes from this. So again, what Ian just went over, we talked about the Congress, the sheriff's race. These are just higher vote totals that Ian reported just now, and we appreciate him coming in. But it looks like Carol Jean Jordan is en route to another victory. Joe Ehrman would have ousted incumbent Tim Zork. Laura Moss with a commanding lead over her opponents in County Commission. Peggy Jones over Laura Zork in the County Commission. Brian Barefoot, who we just had on, and the school board approval seem to be the winners tonight. And what else?
Larry, can I cut in here to ask? It looks like both Tim and Laura Zork lost tonight. Is that correct?
That's the way it looks so far. That's the way it's holding up.
Did you expect that?
I really thought that both of those races would be close. I thought that Tim Zork probably had more of a challenge because, well, a couple of things. He ran his opponent, Joe Ehrman. You know, they're both Vero Beach lifers pretty much. Joe's very well known. 4 years ago, there were 4 people running in the race, and I think the other 2 candidates split Joe's vote to some extent and Tim's vote to some extent. And so this time head-to-head matchup, you know, the firefighters had an influence in the election, I think, to some extent. So I thought Joe had a pretty good chance of doing well there. And then I think the one thing I wrote a column about this for Tim was that he voted, he had the opportunity in a vote maybe a month ago to control the mask ordinance. He could have, I mean, it sounded like he wanted to pass one, like St. Lucie County's mask ordinance. And I think he could have controlled which way that went, but in the end, he said he would vote against the mask ordinance. And I think, you know, with 79% of Floridians in favor of a mask ordinance or required mask laws, I think Tim was on the wrong side of that vote in terms of the popular sentiment. It's one of those issues, and
yeah, it's been, as you know, it's been a huge issue down here in Martin County as well. So it's interesting to see how that plays out, or how that might have played out here in this election tonight.
Exactly. We've got Jenny Fields in the green room. I can't see her, but I'm going to bring her in and see if we can
hear her at least. Yes.
Hey, Jenny, can you hear us?
I can. You can't see me?
We can't see you, no, but we do hear you.
Well, let me
You sound great. Congratulations on your
Congratulations.
Did you call Jenny as the winner there, Gil?
I did, you know, and it was fairly decisive as well. And I don't know that I expected that. We're getting a message now. Jenny's been sort of kicked off. You know, that again, as mentioned earlier, that was a really sort of, that race got a little nasty. The partisans online got a little nasty. There were a couple complaints filed against Fields by her opponent, Kelly Joe Lighton. You know, so I thought that would be, there you are. There she is. All right.
I'm so sorry.
Can you hear us? All right.
My mind, I'm in miles an hour right now.
All right. Well, welcome. And it certainly appeared like you scored it certainly appeared like you scored a decisive win tonight. Did you expect that?
Not in a million years. I did not. No. Mm-mm.
Okay. Well, I mean, so why do you think that the vote total was so lopsided?
You know, I prayed a lot about it, but I honestly believe I thank the voters first and foremost. The voters, you know, they saw me. They saw my story. They saw my history. They saw me in videos. They saw me in interviews, and they believed in me. They believed what I was saying. And, you know, I just think at the end of the day, experience and, you know, I dedicated 30 years of my life to this job and to this office. And I think a lot of people could resonate with that. And I'm so appreciative to the voters. You know, why it was that percentage, I don't know, but I'm so grateful because I just feel like they saw me and everything I've worked for. They believed me. So,
and you know, one of the big arguments for your candidacy was continuity, that you'd been, you know, the deputy in that office for such a long time, and that, you know, it would be a sort of a seamless transition, whereas your opponent was making the argument that, what we need is change, and I'm the agent of change. I can bring change, that sort of thing. So do you see tonight's election results as sort of a vote of confidence in the way your office has been running things?
Absolutely. Laurel, hands down, has run a stellar office. She has been an amazing mentor to me. She's treated people with kindness and respect, and her open door policy is the fundamentals of what we carry our office with. So when I say that I'm going to continue that, I absolutely promise that, because it's so important, and I think people believe that. They believe her, and when she had faith of me, I think people went, you know what, if Laurel has faith in you and she's seen you grow as a person and evolve, I think we're going to believe you too.
Mm-hmm. Do you think this race sort of turned into a bit of a referendum on Laurel?
I think it did, but honestly, I think people can see for themselves. Our voters are very intelligent, and they know at the end of the day, experience matters. And when you have 31 years experience, it really doesn't matter what position you held through those 30 years. If you're all over the office and you know that office inside and out, they trust Laurel, and so they know I can do the job.
So what's your priority going into office then?
Absolutely. I've said all along our conversion. We planned this conversion for a couple of years. We've been going through the mapping of the fields and test databases, and our offices, our team of professionals are absolutely hands down the best group any office could have. And we've been so diligent working on this conversion. Our goal is November. We're going to go live on it. So that is our goal. That is my goal. Outreach, like I've always promised, I'm going to keep my promises. I want to amp up our outreach. I want to get lunch and learns. I want to have how-to videos on the web. I just want to make sure that every resident in Martin County knows who we are and what benefits are available to them. I don't want anyone to get their trim notice and go, what is this? What does this mean? I'm going to make sure my job is to make sure that everyone knows that. And so that's my priority. And, I can't wait. I can't wait to get started.
Tell us a little bit about your campaign. I saw a lot of people sort of waving your flag online. And in our comments here this evening, we've had a lot of your supporters saying, go Jenny, that sort of thing. They're out there for you. So, how difficult was it for you to campaign with COVID, sort of curtailing, campaign activities, and how much, did you rely on sort of online advocacy to get your message out, I guess?
Well, in the beginning in January, when I rolled out my, my campaign, super excited. I had a stellar opponent. She had a well-known name, and I knew right as soon as her endorsements started rolling in, I was going in my opinion, I felt like I was in a David and Goliath story. And so I knew I was going to have to amp up my game. I was going to have to get out there. And I did. I attended, all the chamber meetings and the after hours and getting out there and meeting people. And then, as you said, COVID hit. When COVID hit, I was like, how do we do a campaign with all this? I can't shake anybody's hand. I can't ask for donations anymore. I never even got to have a fundraiser. And so I knew early on, okay, well, I'm not going to ask people for money. I just did, and my heart wasn't in it. And, so I knew I was going to have to amp up my game. And like you said, I had to get clever. I was doing YouTube channels and getting people out there to see my face and tell my story. I was doing that. I was making phone calls and doing emails, and anybody who wanted to interview me on Zoom, I was ready. I was right there. I wanted just people to hear me, hear my passion for the office and what I bring to the table. And thank God it was enough. Thank God it was enough.
Well, congratulations. It's a big win for
Thank you.
Again, you can see in the comments here to our live stream, you got a lot of folks out there passing along there.
Yes.
So congratulations to you. Is there anything else you'd like to say? Anybody you'd like to thank here at the end of the campaign?
Absolutely. There's so many people to thank right now, and I'm going to get emotional. So excuse me. But
that makes for good video, so that's okay.
Sorry. First and foremost, my family, my husband, has been so patient. And, you know, through all this, I have such a protective family, and it's been very hard on them. And, but they have been amazing troopers. I could not have done this without my mom and my dad. They were my sign, my postage, my bank, my, you know, all of that. And like I said, my husband, my sister, and my team, my campaign team, getting out there, talking to people, braving this brutal heat, and the, you know, current employees, past employees, they've all supported me. Everyone who has ever talked to anyone on my behalf, know from the bottom of my heart, I'm grateful. And yeah, I'm just so blessed. God has blessed me with an amazing team, and I'm grateful.
All right. All right. Well, thank you very much for being here tonight, Jenny. Congratulations on your
so
big
much.
win. And have fun the rest of the evening, I guess.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Jenny.
Yeah.
Hey, Gil,
Bye,
we've
Larry.
got, take care, Jenny. We do have, you know, I just, I had to switch my browser, but I did find the, what appears to be the final Indian River County results. So let's go 35 of 35 precincts in. They're saying vote by mail is partially reported live. I didn't see that when I first looked here, but my mail partially reported. I'm not sure what exactly that means, but all precincts are in according to this. Again, Posey's over Kane, significant margin. Eric Flowers, 62% of the board is a presumptive sheriff winner. He'll face a non-party affiliate candidate in November. Tax collector, looks like Carol Jean Jordan has another term with 68% of the vote as tax collector. Board of County Commissioners, District 3. Tim Zork, the incumbent, is defeated by Joe Orman, who apparently has 60% of the vote. Board of County Commissioners, District 5. Laurence, the former mayor of Vero Beach, who was the mayor when they resolved their electric issues and the state was able to, the Florida Municipal Power Authority or agency was able to allow the city to sell to Florida and Power and Light. She's got 45% of the vote in the actually it's a universal primary, so that one will be over, followed by Bob Arwater with 30%. And then we've got the circuit judge rates. Judge Griffin has a big lead there. Peggy Jones, who we spoke to earlier, 60% over the current school board chairman, first term incumbent, Laura Zork. So both Zorks presumptively will lose their seats. And then Brian Barefoot with a big lead, 65% almost for the other school board race against Alla Kramer. And then overwhelmingly 77% almost of the residents want to continue the optional tax for Indian River County School District. And that's the latest from Indian River County.
All right. All right. We do not have any updates now yet for St. Lucie County. We're still seeing 62 of 64 precincts reported. We've discussed some of these results that we've got so far previously. Let's talk about what we can definitely say at this point. What we can definitely say at this point is that the race for U.S. Rep District 18 this fall is going to be incumbent Brian Mast, the Republican, versus Democrat Pam Keith. Keith scored a resounding victory tonight over Oz Vasquez in both St. Lucie and Martin, and apparently Palm Beach counties as well. So that's going to be quite the battle royale come this fall. We are still seeing, it looks like in St. Lucie County, Kevin Carter seems likely at this point to be the Republican nominee for sheriff to go up against incumbent Sheriff Ken Mascara. He's got 64% of the vote. This is something we focused on a little bit before tonight. We haven't talked about it much tonight, but Gertrude Walker, the incumbent supervisor election, cruises to victory, or what appears to be victory. There's still 2 precincts have not reported. At this point, though, she's got 74.25% of the vote. Sharita Johnson, a very worthy challenger, whom we actually endorsed last time around, got just 25.75% of the vote. We're still waiting on some really, really close races here, including District 1, the Democrat County Commissioner, where Chris Zadowski, the incumbent, is having trouble. And also the school board, District 4, where Kathleen Hensley is holding on by the skin of her teeth, literally just fewer than 100 votes. And as I speak, those numbers were just updated. It looks like Zadowski's lead has narrowed further. I'm going to share the screen here. Hang on a second so you can see this. This is a bit much. Hang on. There it is. Zadowski's lead has narrowed even further. The margin here is about 150 votes out of over 25,000 votes cast. All right. So that one's kind of going down the wire here. Also here, this is, again, the school board race I was just talking about, District 4. Look at this. Catherine Hensley, she's the incumbent, 41.43%. Jennifer Richardson, 41.27%. The difference here, 78 votes. 78 votes out of nearly 50,000 cast. That's going down to the wire as well. Linda Hudson and Fort Pierce mayoral race, a clear margin. Reggie Sessions looks like a clear margin. David Pickett, this is Port St. Lucie City Council D2 to replace John Caravelli, a pretty significant a lead there for him. Don't know how that's going to be overcome. But again, these two races that we're watching here, Zadowski, the incumbent, and Hensley, the incumbent, both are on the verge. Both are on the bubble in St. Lucie County, rather. Pretty interesting. And like I said earlier, a pretty decent argument that voters in St. Lucie County really have an idea that this is the year for change. Not so much in Martin County. That was not really the case in Martin County. Again, in the city of Stewart, looks like they returned incumbent Commissioner Merritt Matheson to office. Troy McDonald, who was on the commission before, he's going back to office. Doug Smith, he's been an incumbent for some 20 years. He's going back. Martin County did not have an appetite for change this year, but it looks like St. Lucie County did.
Exactly, and we may have a couple of those races in St. Lucie County that become runoff races where the top two vote getters will meet.
Correct. Yes. Yeah, exactly. So, but again, we still do not have all the results. We're still waiting on the final tallies. So we're going to have to wait and see if that's going to be the case.
Okay. So we're almost wrapped up here, I think, Gil. I mean, we're going to go down to the wire, a couple of those races, it sounds like, but TCPalm will be able to, you'll be able to recap that later tonight and in the morning. We do have one candidate, looks like she's trying to get in, Karen Hall Yost Rudge, the city of Stewart. Had a fairly close race, right, Gil? With
Karen actually performed better than I think many people thought she might. She actually did better in her race against Troy McDonald than Ed Galante did in his race against Merritt Matheson, the incumbent. Karen, can you hear us?
Karen, can you hear us?
I hope I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
So how?
Okay, good.
Are you there? Can you hear us? Okay, we're having some technical difficulties here.
Yeah, Karen, we can't hear you.
Everyone can. Always.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate your trying, Karen, and congratulations on running a good race.
Yeah, no, Karen, you ran a pretty competitive race here, and you did fairly well. We can hear you're just a little choppy, so the connection must be bad.
Thanks.
Okay. If you can hear me, congratulations on running a very competitive race. You got about 38% of the vote, which is pretty good. Again, as I said, Ed Galante, who was challenging incumbent Merritt Matheson, only got about 32% of the vote. So you performed pretty well tonight. Tell us a little bit about the campaign and what's your takeaway from this.
First of all, thank you, Stewart News, for doing this for the people. I want to thank the people that voted for me. I'm very surprised to get that high of a number when I wasn't able to get my message out there. I want to also thank my family, anybody that helped me campaign. And I feel very proud to get 38.8%. And I didn't have any money to do it. And I mean, I even had to ride my bike, and people have spoken, and I will, I'm happy for Troy. He has a lot of, a record that isn't as good as my record, but the people have spoken. So now he has 1 year to do the right thing, and it's a special election, so he's up for election in a year, and if he doesn't perform well, he will have a competitor for sure.
What's your advice to him in terms of, you say perform well? What do you think his priorities ought to be?
Number one, if they bring him something that says we're going to sue the residents to get money for anything, he's going to say, no, we won't sue the residents. We'll find a better way to get money for the fire, whatever we need. We just don't sue our residents. And you guys actually did a great article in 2017, advocate or adversary. But when Troy came up again, I guess everybody forgot that. But it doesn't matter. He's a good, let me tell you something sweet. Yesterday, there was a horrible storm here. I was on my bike, and Troy asked me if I wanted a ride, and he brought me back to my home, and it was a tender moment because that's what's nice about small town politics. Troy and I know each other, and we love one another. So I'm happy for him. And I don't think they should try to move the meetings at 3:30 in the afternoon. Everybody should stay there as long as it takes, the average in Florida. So we pay our commissioners well. We expect good things from them. And I'm happy for Troy.
Okay, well, good. Well, so was there anything, what's your takeaway from this campaign? Anybody you'd like to thank for helping you out? Anything you want to say? Anything else you want to say?
Well, I do. I want to say thank you to the voters. Thank you for getting out there and voting. August is a hard election. Most people think November, but I'm very pleased. I'm very proud. I'm proud of my county. We got Jenny Fields in, Kelly Glass Layton, the seat that Troy and I ran for. The things that she did that were not good, Troy did the same things, but we're forgiving people. We're giving Troy another shot, and I believe in him. And I'm going to be at the meetings. I'm not one of those people who comes and runs and then leaves. I'm in it, and I'm very excited about our commission. We have a good commission, and I look forward to 2020 with our county and our city, and we're good. We're doing well.
All right, very good. Karen Hall, Yost Rudge, thanks for being with us. Thanks for running a great campaign. Congratulations for that. And sounds like we'll see you soon.
All right, thank you. And I don't know if you mentioned this. I hope you mention it when you do your news in the next few days. I took no money. And on top of that, I have no money. So I just hope that people were inspired that you can get in the game, even if you're low income. I'm low income. I'm looking for work. If anybody out there needs somebody for a boat or a child or a legal secretary, but I'm happy for our city and our county that good people run. And I look forward to maybe running against Troy again if he's not a good boy this year.
All right, very good. Karen Hall, Yost Rudge, thanks so much for being with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, so that was one of the most enlightening, interesting, and uplifting
it was
stories of the year.
Very much
so. It was just, it's really cool that she got it, that Troy McDonald, her opponent, picked her up when she was out riding her bike and got stuck in.
Yeah, well, you know, that's very nice that Troy, very gentlemanly of Troy, and I think the voters of Stewart, regardless of who they voted for, would be happy to see something like that. Karen Hall Yost Rudge garnered 1,368 votes tonight. That's almost 39% of the total. So there's a lot of people out there who liked her message, even though, as she said, she had a hard time getting her message out. So, you know, she's run for office before, and we may see her again. I want to quickly update here before we leave. St. Lucie County Supervisor Elections is now reporting 64 of 64 precincts reporting, although vote by mail ballots have not completely been counted yet, but we're close here. Let's take a look and see what we've got. Let me share the screen here so we can all see.
Hey, Gil.
Yeah.
Among the results out of St. Lucie County, TCPalm is reporting that Mayor Linda Hudson and real estate broker Donna Benton will face off November 3rd.
All right. Because Hudson did not win a clear majority. She did not win over 50%. She did get 45.76%, as you might see here. Benton got 19.51%. So she was the next highest total, but it was significantly less than what Hudson got. Again, if you see this race, 6 people vying for mayor of Fort Pierce, if you see the number of candidates in that race, again, as indicative of people in Fort Pierce wanting change, well, almost half the people who voted today voted for the incumbent mayor. So maybe the appetite for change is not quite as ravenous as we sort of indicated in some of these other races. But let's take a look at some of these other races. We've got here, again, and this hasn't changed, Chris Zadowski, County Commissioner, District 1, Democratic primary. Zadowski is the incumbent, still holding on to a lead of less than 150 votes out of 25,000 cast. There you can see he's holding on with 50.33% of the vote. Down here, we look at the school board, District 4. Again, those totals haven't changed. Catherine Hensley barely hanging on, 41.43% to 41.27% for Jennifer Richardson. The difference there, about 78 votes. So, very, very close. We've got 2 races here that look like they're going to really go down to the wire. Everybody else seems to be shaken out here. We've got some clear sort of results. We've got some clear narratives that emerge here tonight. Again, Martin County was not interested in change, did not vote for change, voted in incumbents across the board. St. Lucie County, you got several incumbents who are really sort of in positions, that they may lose their seats. And Indian River County, it sounds like you've got incumbents who did lose their seats. So, perhaps the appetite for change is strong on the Treasure Coast.
Interesting. It'll be interesting to see how that carries over to November. And what's interesting about the mayoral race in Fort Pierce is that the second place winner, Donna Benton, is the wife of former Mayor Bob Benton. So that should be an interesting race. It seems like Linda Hudson, on one hand, with 45% of the vote, was the obviously had a commanding lead now, but when she goes against people that want change, will enough people get behind Donna Benton to matter?
Well, right. And does Donna Benton really represent change if, in fact, she's the wife of the former mayor? You know what I mean? Fort Pierce is a community. There's a lot of sort of issues that have, come to the forefront up there in terms of police, in terms of the performance of the chief of police there. The chief of police's performance was an issue in the mayoral race, with a lot of the candidates saying, they have issues with the chief. And other things that have been going on up in the community as well. So, but again, and Commissioner Reggie Sessions looks to have outlasted the challengers for his seat. So, maybe in Fort Pierce, which is arguably one of the communities you'd think there would be the most agitation for change, maybe that's one of the communities we won't see change, as opposed to the county commission, as opposed to the school board. Where voters have really sort of really gone for people who maybe bring something new to the table.
Yeah. Well, it'll be interesting to see what happens in November. And I think we'll sort of end it with this. As Pat Donlevy, one of our Facebook commenter, points out, who says local politics have to be vitriolic? Congratulations to Karen Yost Rudge for running a good campaign with no money. Just a sort of a good news story in this time of a lot of negativity and things like that. So, Gil, any final thoughts?
Just to answer Pat Donlevy's question rather in the comments, my favorite Beatles album is Revolver. So there you go.
Oh, okay, there you go. So anyway, you got your Gil's favorite Beatles album is out there. I want to thank Gil, Adam behind the scenes tonight. This is our first effort at doing something like this in terms of the format where we brought candidates in live. It's kind of cool getting to see some of the candidates tonight. You enjoyed it. Had the results and had some technical difficulties, but I know Gil and I enjoyed it, Adam as well. And thank you again. For any late election breaking news, you can always check out TCPalm in your app, on your phone, any way you choose online. And thank you again, and keep tuning in to TCPalm. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.